Do you think he'll show up?
He said he could after he deals with some bullshit.
So is he going to jail or what?
I don't even know, bro. The grand jury just canceled for some reason.
The Steam sale just ended, so I imagine that had something to do with it. Jedi Fallen Order was less than a cone of chocolate chip.
That's totally wizard. Speaking of Star Wars, how would you like to do a Star Wars tier list with me?
Is it an alien waifu list?
No, Joe. It's strictly a movie and TV show ranking.
Dang, Farrick, fine.
Maybe we do that another time.
Finally. Fuck my ass and squeeze my tits. This past week has sucked balls. I've had no time for any games. It's just been all dick measuring and threats. Feels like my first marriage.
How'd it go today, Donald?
About as well as you'd expect. I resorted to Civil War mongering again so it could have gone better. The one silver lining was that I started mentioning the Steam games on sale, and the whole jury mentally checked out.
I fucking called it.
Impressive. Most impressive.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Bro, your father was a used car salesman.
Fuck you, prick.
Oh, I hit a nerve, my bad B. Any reason you jabronis are quoting Star Wars? Have you been discussing the last episode of Mandalorian?
Yeah, we were earlier. How'd you like it?
God fucking awful. Yeah, worst episode of Mando to date. The first time they missed. Really, the beginning and ending scenes with Mando and Bo-Katan are great. But the vast majority of the episode, featuring Space Fauci and feminism incarnate, was a fucking disgrace.
Yeah, I'm mostly with you here, Donald. A real stinker. Bo-Katan has a dumpy, though.
Facts. Straight pog. And I guess they couldn't all be good episodes in this series.
Hey, I guess we've been spoiled so far. There's been a couple iffy episodes here and there, but nothing ever this bad.
Well, I'm glad you're in the mood to review Star Wars, because I've got a Star Wars movies and series tier list for us. Ready to go? You in?
Oh, fuck yeah. I could get Swifty in here.
Let's do it.
All right, motherfuckers, let's get right into it. Let's start with the basics. Star Wars.
Fucking masterpiece.
You won't find me disagreeing with that one, Joe. The one that started it all. Do you guys remember the first time you experienced this film?
I do, and it honestly brings a tear to my eye.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, but I could recite every line of this movie front to back. This movie is so good it defies dementia.
The perfect hero's journey. It surpassed everyone's expectations to such an extent that movies were never looked at the same way again.
Well said, Barack. Every single character was iconic. Easiest S tier of human history.
Agreed.
I wouldn't have it any other way. It goes in Skywalker tier.
Love the tier names.
Thanks, man. Okay, well, I'm sure you know what's next. Empire Strikes Back.
Instant S tier.
I'm not even going to talk about it until it rests in its rightful place next to the first one.
That's fair.
Even with all our previous statements about Star Wars, Empire is an even better film. The love we found for the characters in the first one makes the emotional drama hit harder. And having the bad guys win was the shit.
Yeah, and Yoda was fucking baller.
Hoth battle, Jedi training, Boba Fett, Vader duel, and fucking Lando. Need I say more?
I think we've covered it.
Okay then, up next is Return of the Jedi.
Third S tier in a row.
No, Joe, it isn't.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Joe, this movie is good, even great, but it isn't as great as the first two.
You're smoking crack, and not even the good kind.
I'm not saying it's F tier, man. I'm simply suggesting it should fall into A tier by comparison.
You know, Joe, I'm going to have to agree with Donald on this one. It's not quite S tier. The first act was a shit show.
You too? I can't believe this shit. You're going to disrespect Slave Leia like that?
Joe, that was extremely problematic.
Yeah, Joe, I'm not one to fight for women's rights, but that shit was so sus.
And that whole plan was just so brainless. They walked in one by one to be captured. And Luke's wise plan was to do the same, but this time attempt to assassinate Jabba with a fucking gun. Made zero sense.
Plus, Boba Fett got so unjustly thrown away after he did such a great job. It was just like the last election.
What about Ewoks?
Joe, nobody likes Ewoks like you do.
The last act carries this movie hard.
Okay, fine, but it was the best final act.
That's debatable, but not out of line.
So we agree on Ahsoka tier.
I think it's sacrilege, but I'll get over it.
Okay, cool. We mostly agreed on the OT. Now here come the prequels, starting with Phantom Menace.
Mixed emotions. I remember clowning this movie when it came out, but with time I've grown to enjoy it.
I was a day one fan, and it's never changed. I agree it isn't as good as the OT, but the creative genius of Lucas still shows itself throughout this film.
I hear what you're both saying. In retrospect, this film isn't as bad as people say. Jar Jar's an unfortunate presence as always, but Qui-Gon was a legend.
I love Jar Jar.
Of course you love Jar Jar. It took millions of people just like him to get you elected.
That would make me Emperor Palpatine.
I'm pretty sure Palpatine never ate shit off a bike.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some would consider to be unnatural.
What's unnatural is whatever drugs they're giving you to keep you upright.
We're getting off track. Where do we put Phantom Menace?
C tier, mall fight carries.
Oh, come on. This is the same shit you said about Return of the Jedi, except now we're all the way down in C. I'm up at A tier.
I'm not quite as high as A, but not quite as low as C-3PO. The plot was slow at times and dialogue was mid. I think a solid B tier is in order to average it all out.
Fine.
That's okay, I guess.
And how about Attack of the Clones?
It's a better movie at least than Phantom Menace.
I enjoyed both pretty equally.
Okay, now I'm the hater. This movie has quite possibly the worst romance in movie history.
Still better than Twilight.
Is that really a flex?
Definitely not. It's just more entertaining to me. I'm surprised Joe was even able to get through Phantom Menace without a couple naps. This movie has a ton of action to offset the dull moments of Anakin and Padme.
I don't like sand.
Okay, Jamal, don't pull out the 9. Dialogue wasn't great in either movies, and even sometimes in the third one.
That's because I'm so in love with you.
Yeah, dialogue is truly the worst part of these movies.
A weakness to be sure, but a welcome one. Plus, all of Palpatine's dialogue is tight.
I don't think anybody's going to complain about Palpatine, at least until later.
Regardless, the action was on point, and seeing the arena brawl into the Battle of Geonosis was a vibe.
I'll agree with you there.
I'd be higher, but there wasn't enough Dooku, so I'm thinking we do B tier again for this.
I'd be lower, but I know Joe would be higher, so I'd agree.
Right on.
Okay, now the heavy hitter, Revenge of the Sith.
Gotta be S tier.
I don't think so.
Okay, now I'm about to roast you so bad you'll look like Anakin crawling out of the lava. You have no respect for Star Wars if you don't put Revenge of the Sith in S tier.
I do respect Star Wars, you sleepy fuck. I'm not so blinded by my allegiance to say this movie is flawless.
Fuck you, looking like Jabba's orange-tinted cousin. Fuck out of my face.
Joe, calm down. He has a point. The movie isn't perfect.
You were my brother, Barack.
Joe, come on now. It may have been the best visuals in a Star Wars film, but the plot leaves some to be desired.
No, I let you two lower the rightful place of the last 3 movies, and now we're talking about the unthinkable.
It's no lower than A tier. It's just crazy to me that we didn't get to see more of Order 66.
That's it? You get to see plenty in the games and shows. Why is it enough to take it from S tier?
It was the biggest event of the entire trilogy, and they only gave it like 3 or 4 minutes of screen time, and most of that was marching.
Although it was cool, I didn't want to see a montage of Jedi getting bodied. I wanted to see Vader in the 500 first going hallway hunting.
It was truly the most dramatic time in the entire series, in my opinion, and it was very seldom shown. I wholeheartedly agree with Don. We aren't too far from each other. I just don't think it's S.
Also, the pacing is odd at times.
I will die on this hill.
Shouldn't take that long.
Joe, you got to accept the A tier.
No!
Do it!
I will say it's better than Return of the Jedi.
Okay, but I still think you should both be thrown in an asylum.